Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from Denver, Colorado, still Josh Lander, joined as always by my guy Nate Weitzer, holding it down on the East Coast. Looking at another game in this small Tuesday night slate tonight. We do have all three games up on different videos for you. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Check out Nate's great article up on playpicks.com as well. Has something about all three games in there, including some player props. And if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area. And before we jump into it, it's time to bring back our gift card opportunity. Going to go ahead and give you guys here a player prop in just a minute as we go over some of these stats and player props that we'll be looking at anyway. Give you one of those and make sure to like and subscribe to the video and page, as then you'll be eligible to jump in the comments, give us your total, and have an opportunity to win that gift card. Shout out to our guy Dan, who keeps us honest and handing those things out to all of our winners. But let's go ahead and jump into tonight's slate date for Tuesday night.
Yeah, we're going to focus on the Hawks, plus 8.5 now at the Jazz, open around plus 7, but they have been struggling. The total is 222.5. That's rising from about 220. The other two games on the slate, which we have full episodes up, Bucks are minus 5.5 at Philly. Tons of big names out for that game, which is why we like the under, why everybody likes the under, and it's been bet down from 221 to 217 at this point. And then the nightcap is the Blazers plus 2.5 at Clippers, 221 point total there. The Hawks are just, I don't understand what's happening to this degree. I mean, sure, there could have been a little bit of a letdown after their magical playoff run there. But in their last 7 games, they're the worst defensive team in the NBA. And they're in the midst of a ridiculously tough schedule stretch. This is their 5th game in 6 nights in a 5th different city. Their one home game was against Utah without Donovan Mitchell, and they lost by 18 points. They've now failed to cover 3 straight against Utah, losing by an average of 21 points per game. They've now failed to cover in 9 straight road games. They're on 0 days rest. And there's a lot to not like about the Hawks here. There's a lot to attack about their defense. I think this spread's probably going to close to 10 points. So I don't really love that, as good as Utah can be. But I do think that they're going to bounce back from their own brief struggle here, which was losing both games of a back-to-back in Miami and Orlando, of all places. Donovan Mitchell foul trouble in that game. The Jazz shot under 20% from 3. Who knows the last time that's happened? I think with a day off to prepare for this Hawks team that they've owned recently, they will bounce back in a big way offensively. My starting point would just be taking the Jazz team total, which is only 114.5 at DraftKings right now. And then looking at some Donovan Mitchell scoring props, he's got to be frustrated about that foul trouble issue and has had no issues ripping right through the Hawks, 27 points per game on nearly 50, 45, 89 shooting splits in his last 3 games against Atlanta, and some of those haven't been close.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is a game that you look at and you just go, if Atlanta was at home, maybe you consider this a nice get right game for them in terms of, at least even if they weren't able to win, they play up to their competition kind of thing. But playing in Utah, especially the way that Atlanta's handled things recently, against Utah specifically, the fact that Utah is coming off a really bad loss to Orlando. Shout out Cole Anthony, who had an incredible game and another wonderful post game interview as well in that one. But yeah, that was not a good loss for Utah. And I expected to come out with a vengeance in this one, specifically Spida, as you mentioned, that he got himself into foul trouble early in the last game, but he's still coming out blazing, this season so far. And actually, before we go any further, I want to make him our gift card prop for tonight against the Hawks. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Jump in the comments and let us know what you think Spida Mitchell's points, rebounds, and assists combined will be tonight. If you get that number exactly, we'll go ahead and get you a gift card. As many people who get it right will be as many people that get a gift card. So make sure to jump in there and get that. I personally think this will be a nice one for him, specifically because of the lack of defense that Atlanta has been displaying. And that's what we targeted in our last game with them, taking a nice over, hitting a nice over with Atlanta as they continue to struggle entirely on defense in their last 7, as you mentioned, where they are 1-6 in that. They have the league's worst defensive rating at 119. And we see a lot of better defensive ratings this year for a lot of teams with some of the new rules, teams complaining about the new ball even being, hindering their shooting. So, I would say the offensive numbers numbers, interestingly, aren't necessarily that far down. We're not seeing that many more fouls called, but we are seeing a lot better defensive ratings, a lot of teams that are able to keep their scores a little bit lower this year so far. And the Hawks are going in the other direction somehow in terms of how many points they're giving up. It's going to be a sort of a clash of styles, in my opinion, tonight. I think you will see the Jazz continue to have a little bit sort of that 1 low, 4 high with Rudy and pulling threes. But I also think you'll see a lot of, guys crashing for Utah tonight, as they do have, some of their bodies like Royce O'Neal and Bogey, who haven't been playing as well. You've picked it up a little bit despite, the sort of last 2 losses that they've incurred on that Eastern Conference. But they are back home tonight, Nate, and to your, to all the points about the lack of D on the Hawks and the way that they're struggling right now, which is a little bit odd to us. I don't think we have a solid explanation for it. John Collins played the other night, and still, he managed to, that didn't really help their defense or impact it the way we thought he might when he was questionable. So I'm not really sure where they turn at this point. It might be another situation of needing to lose their coach midway through the season, the way it worked out for Nasty Nate last year. Nobody's listening to him right now.
No, I think it's just sort of a glut of resources for Atlanta. They have so many wings right now that when guys, Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter, they don't know what their role is going to be when they get yanked. It's a real confidence drain, and they just don't know how they're going to fit in defensive cohesion, right? It's all about reps together, about knowing each other, and they haven't been together. They weren't together last year. Now they're mixing and matching because they have so many options, and they just haven't figured it out yet. They're not going to figure it out against this Jazz team. They're 24th in three-pointers allowed. The Jazz had a 120 offensive rating, almost shot 40% from 3 at home last season. They're going to have figured some things out after that road trip. I would lean on the Jazz offense, probably lean on it all the way to getting over this total if it stays around 222. And you can just parlay a Jazz win in that over for plus 140. I would definitely do that ahead of trying to mess with this spread, which is just getting too big.
Yeah, and if you want to put a couple of bets to feel comfortable about here too, you might consider just taking the points for Utah in terms of their over there, considering what the Hawks have been unable to do. So that would bring you to about 111.5 for them. I think they can easily score that the way that the Hawks have been giving up, 110 to 120 points specifically in their last 7. So yeah, points for Utah, wins for Utah. The double-digit spread is a little bit scary for us, but either way, betting against the Hawks is kind of the play right now until they show us otherwise. So that is all the time that we have for today. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page so you can let us know in the comments how many points, rebounds, and assists combined you think Donovan Mitchell will get tonight in that game against the Hawks. And until we see you next, happy betting.